Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Husna Farisha binti Mohamed.
Hai, Assalamualaikum. Saya Siti Najuwa, binti Mat.
Hello everyone, my name is Nur Erinna Diyana binti Roslan.
Hi, my name is Nur Farzana binti Nor Azaman.
My name is Wan Nur Farzana binti Wan Dalami.
This presentation will be divided into two parts, which are Part A and Part B. Now let's focus on Part A. In this part, we will cover segmental reporting under Mfrs 8. There are 4 points to be discussed in this part, which are the first one is company background of Petronas, the management approach, reproducing of segmental reporting, and lastly, the conclusion that covers advantages and disadvantages. Petroleum Nasional Berhad, known as Petronas by the locals, is a Malaysian oil and gas company. It has established on 17 August 1974, and the ownership of the company is wholly owned by the Malaysian government. Petronas has been founded by Tengku Razali Hamzah, and the current CEO is Tengku Mohamed Taufik. Petronas has set to close its account on 31st December every year. Petronas is deeply involved in all aspects of the oil and natural gas industries, from upstream of exploring and extracting oil and gas to downstream refining and distributing the products. Petronas is an incorporated public organization and it has 3 listed subsidiaries with pusat Malaysia, which are Petronas Gas Berhad, Petronas Chemical Group Berhad, and Petronas Dagangan Berhad. Lastly, Petronas global operations include the exploration, development, and production of crude oil and natural gas in Malaysia and also abroad.
The first factor is the nature of product or services. In Petronas sendiri and Berhad, there are 2 types of nature, which are the first one is the nature of product. Under this type of nature, it is upstream, downstream, midstream, gas and new energy. Meanwhile, under the nature of services, it is only involve corporate and others. The second factor is the nature of production processes. For upstream segment, Petronas deals with exploration and initial production of oil and gas. For downstream segment, it involves activities such as supply and trading, refining and manufacturing of petroleum and petrochemical products. The next one is gas and new energy segment. It involves activities such as purchasing of natural gas, liquefaction and marketing and trading of natural gas too. Meanwhile, for midstream segment, it involves activities such as operating the pipeline and carrying out transmission from the upstream to our homes and consumers' business. The last one is corporate and others. Under this segment, it comprises logistic, property segment, central treasury and project delivery and technology function. The third factor is type or class of customer. Petronas are producing the petrol and diesel for individual customers and natural gas for public and domestic use. The type of customer is to anyone with the needs of fuel and gas.
Next, we will discuss about the method used to distribute the Petronas' product. There are 3 products that Petronas Berhad distribute, which are processed gas, marine fuel, and natural gas. For the processed gas, it is mainly transported via the Peninsular Utilization Transmission Grid. For the next product, which is marine fuel, is delivered to the customer via Petronas LNG bunkering vessel. And the last product, which is natural gas, is being delivered using the rope truck fitters with cryogenic ISO tanks. Petronas Berhad have 2 types of segments. The first segment is business segment. Business segment is a unit of an entity that is engaged in providing the products or services. It is known as the downstream segment. The second type of segment is geographical segment. It is a unit of an entity engaged in providing products or services within a particular economic environment. Geographical segment is known as upstream segment, midstream segment, and gas and new energy segment. Next, we will get to know who is the Chief of Decision Making and its responsibility. Chief of Decision Making, or CODM, is a person who is responsible to assess the performance of the various segments and to decide on allocation of resources to the segment. For Petronas Berhad, The CODM is the executive leadership team that been led by Yang Mulia Tengku Muhammad Taufik Tengku Kamat Jaja Aziz as the President and Group Chief Executive Officer. They are responsible to provide a holistic approach to all business strategies as well as high impact and high value investment including mergers and acquisitions. The executive leadership team will conduct a focused ELT meeting to discuss a specific matters that include health, safety, security and environment, technology and people development.
In reproducing a segmented report, the company needs to identify reportable operating segments in all types of segments. To do so, we have to hold a quantitative threshold test, which is 10% threshold test. For this test, we have chosen to test in terms of revenue. The revenue must be more than 10% of combined revenue of all operating segments. Revenue for operating segments that do not meet the 10% threshold requirements will be classified as non-reportable segments and be disclosed under the all other segments category. Based on calculations appearing on the screens, it shows that 4 out of 5 segments are reportable segments, which are the upstream segment, gas and new energy segment, downstream segment, and midstream segment. This happens as their 10% threshold revenue is more than 10%. While for corporate and other segments is not reportable segment as it does not exceed 10% of threshold revenue. Therefore, it will be classified under all other segments.
Net is 75% of threshold test. 75% threshold test is the combination of external revenue of identified operating segment that must be more than 75% of the total revenue. If it does not exceed 75% of total revenue, the entity should identify no reportable segment even though the segment fails the 10% of threshold test. For example, in the Petronas is the reportable segment of the upstream, gas and new energy, downstream and midstream will be divided by the total external revenue plus 100%. The total of the 95.68% is more than 75% of the threshold requirement. Therefore, the reportable segment upstream, gas and new energy, downstream and midstream will remain as the reportable segment, and there is no need to identify any additional reportable segment.
So here is a new segmental report for Petronas Sdn Bhd as at 31st December 2020. As we can see here, there are 4 reportable segments which are upstream, midstream, downstream, gas and new energy. Meanwhile, corporate and others will be classified under the other segment because it is a non-reportable segment.
Advantages of segmental reporting is first, the investors able to analyze the entity's performance and the ability to predict future cash flow and also profits. This is because the investor can review the financial report and thus identify the most profitable or loss-making units of each segment. When the segment have a good performance or underperformance, it may help the investor to make investment decision whether to retain or sell shares in the Petronas. The second advantage is transparency. Transparency is a proper disclosure of financial information. In the Petronas, there are 5 financial information which are upstream, midstream, gas and new energy, downstream, corporates and others. By having a segmental reporting, it helps the management to detect which areas they are contributing to profit or loss making. The last advantages is help the management in better decision making. Segment report help the management to know which segment they are perform better and give the higher return for the company. And for the segment which are not perform well, the management of Petronas will take the improvement step whether to close down or spending more on that segment.
The disadvantages of the segment reporting. The first one is the competitor will access the information concerning the segment profitability, like the market that most profit in terms of each segment of the company will easily expose to the competitor in outside. The second one is the segment reporting is also incurred the cost of disclosure. The provision of the additional information along with the routine the information will increase the firm cost in terms of cost purchasing and cost management control system. The third one is it can lead to the misinterpretation of the information, like the problem how to determine share of segment cost out of the common cost incurred on two or more segments. Part B. Interim Report. MFRS 134. The first topic will be present is the basic of preparation of interim report, accounting policy used in the preparing the interim report, types of interim report that prepared by the company, period for the color and comparative of each statement prepared. And the last one is the adjustment and extract of the statement.
For the basis of preparation of interim report, the condensed consolidated financial statement of Petronas Berhad are unaudited and have been prepared based on MFRS 134 interim financial reporting and IAS 34 interim financial reporting, and there are two methods for the basis of preparation, which are integral method and discrete method. For the integral method, the interim report is a fraction of annual report formulated by the annual values multiplied with the fraction of the reporting period, while the discrete method is the interim period is a separate period and the report will be prepared periodically.
There is accounting policy that used in the preparing the interim report. The first one is MFRS 116, property, plant and equipment and depreciation. The physical issue in the accounting policy of the PPE is the recognition of the asset, determination of carried amount, and the changes in depreciation. The depreciation of the property, plant and equipment other than freehold land, oil, gas property, and project in progress will be recognized on the profit or loss on a straight line method basis over the estimate useful life of the each component of the PPE. The property, plant and equipment will not depreciation until the assets are ready for their intended use. As example, the estimate useful life for PPE in Petronas is the building at 100 years, plant and equipment is 67 years, office equipment, furniture and fitting is 10 years of the estimate useful life. Next is MFRS 16 lesson. Lessons is a context a list if the context convert right to use unidentified asset for a period of time in exchange for a consideration. The context involves the use unidentified asset, whereby this may be specifically implicit or explicit or should be physically distinct. The customer has the right to obtain substantially all of the economic benefit from the use of the asset. The customer also has the right to direct the use of the asset as it has the decision right for a most relevant and for what purpose of the asset is used.
There are three types of interim report that can be issued by a company. The first one is bi-monthly, whereby the interim report issued by a company every 2 months. Second, bi-quarterly, whereby it is a summary of unaudited financial statement, and the interim report usually issued by a company every 3 months. And the last one is bi-semi-annually, whereby the interim report issued by a company every 6 months. Therefore, the types of interim report that prepared by a Petronas Berhad is bi-quarterly, whereby the first quarter start from January until March, second quarter from April to June, third quarter from July to September, and the fourth quarter from October until December.
Period for the current and comparative of each statement prepared by Petronas Sendirian Berhad. For statement of financial position, the current interim report will be as at 1st January until 31st December 2020. Meanwhile, for comparative interim report, it will be as at 1st January until 31st December 2019. For statement of profit or loss, its current interim report will be at 4th quarter of the year, which is for 2020. It will be starting from 1st October until 31st December 2020. Meanwhile, for comparative interim report, it will be at 1st October until 31st December 2018. For statement of changes in equity, The current interim report will be at 1st January until 31st December 2020. Meanwhile, for comparative interim report will be as at 1st January until 31st December 2018. And lastly, for statement of cash flow, for current interim report, the Petronas will be as at 1st January until 31st December 2020, and for comparative interim report, it will be as at 1st January until 31st December 2019.
Next, the adjustment that can be made by Petronas Berhad to be included in the interim report is investment property. For example, Petronas Berhad purchased a 12-floor landed property for 8 billion ringgit on 30 November 2020. The first and second floor are used for the administration, and the rest of the floors are rented out under the short-term operating lease. The property cannot be sold separately, and the cost incurred for repair and maintenance is 350,000 ringgit. Petronas Berhad also adopt a fair value model in measuring its investment property. The fair value of the property is 14 million ringgit as at 31st December 2020. From the statement above, Petronas Berhad shall classify the property under the investment property in accordance with Mfrs 140 because only 2 out of 12 floors are being used for the administration and the floor cannot be sold separately. The effect of the adjustment can be seen in the extract of Statement of Financial Position of Petronas Berhad for the quarter ended 31st December 2020. We can see the difference before and after the adjustment as shown in the statement. There are an increasing in the amount of investment properties and land held for development of 40 million ringgit because of the purchase of the new property.
The second adjustment is on the acquisition of assets. On 1st October 2020, Petronas acquired the plant and equipment. It cost 1,960,000 ringgit. It has accumulated depreciation of 786,000. The plant will depreciate by 10% on cost and on monthly basis. The company's policy is to use a cost model to account for its property, plant and equipment. Then, the company makes a purchase of new equipment that costs 760,000. Next, on 1st December 2020, the company had disposed of one of its equipment with a carrying amount of 850,000. It resulted in a profit of 55,000. It was purchased at a cost of 1,200,000. Then, with all transactions completed, we calculate the cost of asset on 31st December 2020. It resulted in 1,870,000 ringgit. Next, compute the accumulated depreciation, and the amount is 482,750 ringgit. The carried amount on 31st December is 1,387,250 ringgit after deducting the cost with accumulated depreciation. As a result, the amount will be recorded in the Statement of Financial Position. An extract from the Statement of Financial Position is shown on the left side of the screen to illustrate the before and after adjustment incurred on the PPE account.